There's a lot of Asian people who think they're smart. Uh, they think they know how the U.S. works. They think that in 2026, the stuff that happened to the Jewish people in World War II cannot happen to Asian today. They say it's harder to do now than before. In some sense, it's true, but practically, it's not. So in 2010, I was sent overseas to represent the U.S. and under the USCIS clause, which is reasonable. I was sent away for a job outside the country, so they made an exception for my wife to get her U.S. citizenship before her 5 years residency quota. So I went ahead, and technical difficulties, I went ahead and she stayed behind to get the test done by herself without me. So she walks into the Tampa USCIS center. The guy told her that she needs to withdraw her citizenship application and then reapply in Thailand. And she didn't know what she's doing, so she signed the I withdrew my application. She showed up to Thailand, told me what happened. I was shocked. I'm like, how the hell does someone get off doing this to someone? But it happens. And now in 2026, you see people being like kidnapped, white van style. They just pull up and drag you in. Next thing you know, you're outside the US. How do you get back? How do you fight it? Unless you have a really good family with good resources, you're not fighting and you're not coming back. You might just die from starvation or whatever. So the Asian living in America are, what is that bird that stick their head in the sand? That's what they are essentially doing. You know, a lot of people, they work really hard and they don't really have time to study and cannot really comprehend the political drift that we're experiencing or the reality that's surfacing. The polite and facade of being nice and kind to all people is being torn off, and the face of the devil is being presented, but people just don't have time to notice. And there's no point to argue. People have the facts already in front of them. They choose what they want to believe. The facts are abundantly clear from the US to the farthest corner of the world. Everyone sees what type of people that we are putting in charge, what type of people we're supporting. It's very obvious. Now, then there's the special type, okay? The professor, the PhD, the successful Asian. Việt Thanh Nguyen, the guy who wrote the Sympathizer and getting an HBO movie made for the Sympathizer. What does he really do for his children? Well, he keep his head down, continue to make his money, and align himself with the power that is. You don't really see the danger or the depth of this situation without comparing it to the colonial Vietnam. When France was in charge of Vietnam, it's very similar to the modern U.S. empire. There's a group of Vietnamese who were pro-French. Their children went to French-speaking schools, and they're fine as long as they are close to the French power base. The rest of the Vietnamese can suffer and can be slaves as long as they get preferential treatment. Now in the U.S., I looked at it for many years, and the one of the sadness I have to deal with is seeing the Vietnamese, the Asians, supporting the very power structure that's going to put them down. The same way that the people who supported the French. And we don't really see or read a lot of this from the founding days of the Americans. But I assure you, during the American Revolution, you have sympathizer to the British crown, and most of them are likely the one that benefited from being part of the crown and keeping the people down. Slave driver, right? So now you have a lot of Asian who don't understand that. In the short term, they may make a little money, they have a little comfort, but in the long term, essentially, they are feeding the Epstein class. So their daughter and son are going to be food at the table for the likes of Epstein, Bill Gates, and friends. Their daughter will be served up for sex and human jerky. And when they see the daughter on the menu and they ask for help, who's going to be there to help them? In 2013, I came under attack, and I was American active duty, so I deserved all of the help the American, should give, but I received none. I looked at the Asian, I looked at the Vietnamese, I looked at the Arabs. So all of this different faction in the U.S. They act like they are serving the interests of the minority. They act like the ACLU, looking after the rights. But like the ACLU, they are there for symbolism to keep people down. How to explain this? Like, let's take Martin Luther King. He mobilized 1 million people to march on Washington and demanded change. Then he was killed. And they made a holiday out of it, and people drink hot dog and beer to celebrate Martin Luther King's legacy. But that's not his legacy. If I was to celebrate Martin Luther King, I would organize a 1 million man march on DC every single year to celebrate his life and to honor why he died, to continue to fight for civil rights. But look at all the people who celebrate Martin Luther King. They just drink beer and hot dog. That's not how you celebrate his life. So the people in America, the Asian Americans, they represent that type of culture to me. The one who remember Martin Luther King's and celebrate his life by drinking beer and eating hot dog and barbecue and doing nothing for the country. And then the Asian sleeping quietly at night, enjoying the peace and quiet, taking the security and comfort for granted. All the people who are defending the country is so far away from the mind. They don't understand that when the last defender lay down, it's their turn to lay down. And there's no one to help them when that time comes. So like most philosophers have written, sages built the empire, but the idiot's going to take it down. And right now, we don't have sages, we have idiots. We have popular idiots, and we have idiots with a lot of money, and people who may or may not be idiots, but they just want to enjoy life. And they will be just like the colonial era people. They're gonna celebrate for being part of the French colonial power. And when the colonial power get the ass kicked, and the new structure is formed, they're gonna lose everything. They will be driven out because honestly, they don't really deserve to be here. So look at who deserves to be an American. There's not a lot. At least 90% of the people here don't deserve to be here. You could interpret it in many ways, but it's worth considering. If you were to build a boat and cross into the promised land and find prosperity and gold and comfort and happiness, etc., who really deserve all of that? Does everybody in the U.S. deserve what the U.S. Offer in benefits? Let's say we have 300 million Americans. How many actually deserve the safety, the benefits that we receive as Americans? Not many. And normally, if there are a lot of excess, then it's tolerated. But once resources become scarce and the 300 million start competing for resources among each other, what will happen at that point? I used to have 3 dogs and there's not a lot of problem. But my friend dropped off some more dogs and now I have 7 dogs. I don't want to just get rid of the dog, but 7 dogs created something that I didn't think about until it happened. They started fighting for resources. So they noticed that, within my house or my home here, 7 dogs is just too much. They wanted to chase away the weakest one. And at first I was like, hey, why are you picking on the little guy? And then I noticed all 3 of the female dogs were taking turn chasing away the little puppy. The puppy is like 2 months old, so 8 weeks, 10 weeks old. And she's being targeted by the 3 adult female trying to drive her away from the pack, fighting for food or the male dog. I don't know. Food is always there. They never finish eating. So there's plenty of food, but they're still fighting for resources just because the sheer number of dogs here. So the 300 Americans, they're going to start fighting. And then when people start fighting, they go tribal, right? So this being a country predominantly white, how many white people are enlightened and how many white people are still dreaming about the old glory day of white power? And then what will you Asian American do when the white power decided that you are not 1/3 of an American, you're not 1/5 of American, you're not even an American? Go back to your country. If your country don't accept you, we're just gonna send you to Africa. What will you do if that was you? Today, that isn't you, but it did happen. It's just not you, and it's not your daughter, it's not your son on the menu at Epstein table. But tomorrow, your daughter is on the menu. And then who will you call? The FBI, Palm Bondi? The Americans in for a hard time. Asian people still thinks they are part of the guests at the table and not the items on the menu. That's a sad outlook, but that's what I see, and that's what makes me sad. And I wish more Asian would be more like me, but ever since I was little, I have been walking alone. In high school, I have one friend, Yang, my tennis partner. In college, I don't think I had one friend in college. Then in the Air Force, I think I had like a few friends, but after they accused me of being Chinese spy several times, I have no more friends in the military. Friends don't Don't let friends be accused of being a Chinese spy. If they were true friends, you would have heard in the news about how the Air Force have wronged me and they are trying to get justice for me. So as you can see, there's no one fighting for Sergeant Pham. No one is trying to get justice for Sergeant Pham. Not the Air Force members, not the American members, not the ACLU, not the lawyers, the leak of defamation, not the Asian, not the Vietnamese, not the Chinese. And this is what I use as an indicator of what is to come next. This lack of cohesion, lack of courage to stand up for one of their own will eventually lead to their own demise. Not downfall. Downfall is a light word. Demise. They will get destroyed.